Your eyes do not, in fact, deceive you. This is the first ever Wild Rift Origin Series monthly final, and we're going to kick things off in June. I've brought on two lovely gentlemen with me this evening to take us through all the action. I've got Maxman and I've got Excoundrel with me. Kiernan, how you doing tonight? You've got to be excited, right?
Mate, I've been looking forward to this. A lot of people have been building up towards the Origin Series. It is obviously the start of like the official competitive scene across the European, Middle Eastern, North African and CIS regions. So I think this is going to be a real test. We're going to see a lot of really good teams kind of strut their stuff. And at the end of it, we'll see who's the best in the region.
And for you, Max?
I'm feeling amazing. As Excoundrel said, right, this is the very first official tournament we have for Wild Rift in Europe. So many community tournaments before, so I know that all these teams and players, they're fully prepared and ready for today's kickoff.
Well, I hope the players are ready, but before we jump even further into the action, let's hear from a couple of them so you can learn their faces.
Hey, I'm Joey Scott, or also known as Joey in real life, and I play for Team Singularity as the AD carry.
My name is Ryo. I'm playing for Team Singularity as the top laner, and I'm from Denmark.
Hi, I am Kaglian. I am playing for Footballist.
I'm Baluz. I'm the jungler of the team 7 Free Agents. We decided to create a new team with all French players.
I'm Maxime Guyot, named as Shakrix in game, and we are very proud to represent our country.
We are all friends. We all want the same things, perform at the best level.
We are kind of outsiders, but we want to prove we are not just outsiders.
My name is Saibek in game. I'm playing for Team Clash. We are on the top 5 teams on Spain. We have a strong team. We can fight for win the tournament.
Awesome. My name is Stuart. In-game name is It's Stuart, and I'm the Dragon Lane carry for Resolve.
Hello, I am Kamoto. In-game name is Polish Onion. I'm from Poland, and I play support for the team Resolve.
Hello everyone, I'm Nick Colstar, team captain and Baron lane player of Unicorns of Love from Cold Russia.
My nickname is JD. I am creator and captain of Team Mortal Shot.
My in-game name is Artiboy. I'm coach for Recent Gaming.
My in-game name is Skov. It's also my middle name. I play for Gamelord and I'm from Denmark.
My name is Georgi. My nickname is iSector. I play organization Bekarog Esports. I'm playing from Georgia.
I would say I'm afraid of two teams right now.
I'm really excited for playing this tournament. I think we're coming in as a huge underdog for this tournament. I think a lot of teams has counted us out.
The Game Lords is better than us right now, and I think Tribe. I think we can win it, and I would hope for us to get at least top 4. That would be like the minimum.
We expect top 3. The time has come for us to show our true power.
And that's just a handful of the players involved in the Origin Series, lads, because we had over 370 teams sign up for the first qualifiers at the beginning of this month, and we whittled them down to just a selection. Before we go any further, we kind of need to touch on how this format is going to work. We've got a double elimination bracket, but of course, we're covering a very large area. We've got Europe, the Middle East, North Africa, Turkey, CIS. And if you try to make those two teams from the furthest reaches of those regions play against each other, ping may be an issue. So we decided to split them into groups with their closest server in mind. Group A on your screens right now, this is primarily European teams coming in, and this is where we're going to see some more familiar faces. Isn't that right, Kiernan?
Yeah, I think if you've been watching community tournaments over maybe the last 3 months or so, you will recognize a lot of the teams in the bracket for the main European region. You'll notice people like Tribe, Queso, Reason, Gamelord, Clash, Resolve, even Vampire, who've been around a little bit. So lots of, I would say, like recognizable faces in this area of the bracket.
Yeah, really big teams. Of course, we've got a few of these that I expect are coming into this tournament as favorites. One of those, of course, being Gamelord and even potentially the likes of Tribe Gaming that have just been doing so well in recent times, especially Gamelord for you guys that maybe haven't been able to catch up too much as of recently. Gamelord was the old Singularity roster, and they still have a big portion of the team still with them, so they're still performing extremely well, and they could be the favorite coming in this first bracket.
So we just have this very familiar Group A, but why don't we go ahead and take a look at Group B? This is primarily going to be full of Turkish and CIS teams. There's one name that stands out for me, lads, and that's Trovo Nova. They've been making waves in EU so far.
Yeah, if you were sort of following from the very early elements of Wild Rift competitive, then Trovo Nova will be the first team that you really got to see. They were one of the first teams on the scene. They have some of the oldest in sort of inverted commas competitive players that we have in Europe. So the faces on Trovo Nova haven't changed a huge amount since they started, and they're coming in this particular bracket where I think they probably come in as the favorites, Maximan.
Yeah, and the reason why we're saying they're coming into this one as one of the favorites is for you guys to watch maybe a few of the past community-run tournaments. You're like, well, Na'Vi was a really good team. People call them the best team in Europe. Well, the roster completely changed. The old Na'Vi that you used to know is completely different, so they got really big shoes to fill coming into this Group B bracket, and hopefully they can try and contest, but they're not going to be having potentially too hard of a first matchup, but they're going to go right off the bat versus Trovo Nova in the quarterfinals if they win their 2 matches. So that is going to be a very hectic match between these 2 teams.
Yeah, a lot riding on that next stage of the tournament as we start to really define the top dogs, shall we say, and the ones who have got a little bit more work to go if they want to reach the end of the bracket. Let's take a look at our final group, though. It's Group C. These are teams coming in from the Middle East and North Africa. And in all honesty, we're probably not going to have too much information on these teams, but we will be checking in with them and we'll start to learn more about them.
Yeah, and I think I want to take this opportunity to say that just because we don't know them doesn't mean that we won't know them. I think at the end of the day, the Origin series is about crafting your own story, building your own legacy. And, you know, I hesitate to say legacy. I know it's a bit of a European buzzword, but these are the kind of things that the Origin series is designed to do. So just because we don't know your names now doesn't mean that we're not going to know your names by the end of the Origin series, because we could have a team that comes straight out of left field, no one's expecting, really pop off. And I think one of the beautiful things about the Origin series is that we do get to see regions that we haven't classically been able to see at the sort of the more heavily publicized European scene that we've had previously. And that's what I'm also really excited about.
Yeah, that's the nature of an open tournament. Anyone can come up, anyone can be a star. And when the competitive side of Wild Rift is in its infancy, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for a few upsets. We're looking for people to define their own path on this one. So, lads, we've seen everything that's going on. Let's go ahead and pull up the schedule, see what we've got coming up later today. Now, you'll notice we've got a couple of TBDs in there. We're going to be quite fluid. We have to jump between these groups because there's a lot of matches that are going to be happening simultaneously. What I can tell you, though, is that we're going to be starting with Trovo Nova going up against Butterfly Dream for Yoda. And if you haven't figured it out, Butterfly Dream for Yoda is one of these teams that has kind of come through the open qualification to try and reign prevalence, but they have got a tall order to run up against them. You know, it's Trovo Nova, we've already pegged them as one of the stronger teams potentially in the tournament. So, Max, Butterfly Dream for Yoda, what are some of the things they need to be looking out for here?
I mean, already you're going to have to be very careful about the likes of Grizzly. We were talking about that actually with Xscoundrel before the stream actually started, and how strong Grizzly actually is, because the meta has been shifting pretty heavily, I would say, for supports. Just a few months ago, you would see a lot of Braum, a lot of Alistars. Now it's went a little bit towards Enchanter supports, and Xscoundrel, he can just play so many strong champions in that position that he should be a player you want to be very careful, because even if you ban away a bunch of supports, you'll always have that one support that you can always play no matter what happens in the draft.
All right, then, Max, thanks for that little teaser. But before we go any further, let's just make it formal. Let's just jump straight into game number 1. We didn't go very far, but now you finally have some rosters on your screen. We spoke a little bit about some of the Trovo Nova players, but I'm hoping to get a few more nuggets of insight from you, Kiernan.
Yeah, so I think the 2 players that I'm really excited about from Trovo Nova are Vex and Grizzly. Vex was a player that popped out really, really quickly in Wild Rift. He was a previous mobile MOBA player, had kind of came in with like wealth of experience and really popped off early on in Wild Rift solo queue. I believe he took a little bit of a backseat for a while, but he has really just been raging up the solo queue ladder, as has Grizzly. Vex absolutely Goomba stomped me today in ranks. He's in a good. I think he's in a good place coming into this. But Grizzly, I have so much respect for this support. Not only is his Braum absolutely nutty, but he's got such, like as Max said, an ability to play numerous champions at a very high level. So I'm really, really excited about what Grizzly and Vex can do as a jungle support duo on the map here.
Well, we're into the draft, so you're going to be able to see what they'll roll out with. Some power picks in general. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping for those who haven't really tuned into competitive Wild Rift before. What kind of picks are strong right now? What are we looking to get banned off if you just remove any like names altogether?
Right now in the meta, Ziggs is ridiculous in competitive. Wukong is like a tier 1 priority jungler. You don't usually see it banned, but it's obviously very high up at the pick order. Seraphine, Sona bot lanes in the high levels of Europe have been super popular as well. Garen is I can say this with first-hand experience. Garen is broken, so I expect to see him, getting banned quite a lot today. There's a lot of good champions. Interesting on Draven, that feels like a bit more of a target ban. I would not rate Draven as a ridiculously high priority AD carry, but it's often you see it banned on competitive levels max when people either don't want to play against it because they're not comfortable, or you've got a particularly skilled Draven player.
Yeah, potentially just want to play more of a slower scaling ADC, and then that's because you want to try and get rid of the Draven that will typically bully you pretty heavily in that laning phase. But the Ari, I added an entire segment that I was going to have dedicated to Sen. I want to see Ari played. I think is good. I know Scoundrel, you don't agree with it, but she's banned. So she's definitely good at something, right? And then we're going to have the very first pick coming on through for Trovanova, and that is going to be the Camille. So Camille, very good in a flex pick currently, can play her jungle. She's really strong in that position and also in the Baron lane. But typically, the reason why Trovanova like to go for that pick first is that really good potential to play in 2 different roles. So it's a little bit harder to counteract for the side of Butterfly Dream for Yoda.
I'll tell you where it's going right now. It's going Baron lane. Clamara's on Camille.
Typically,
that's the first pick for him. Like, absolutely. I love this rotation from Butterfly Dream, though. They take the Seraphine, who, you prevent a Seraphine Sona bot lane, which has been super popular with many European teams, and then you pick up the Braum as well. But this is a power pick that I don't usually get let through the draft very often, and the Ziggs gets picked up. And that Ziggs is powerful for one reason only. He makes towers already feel like paper in Wild Rift. He is like a lighter. He just absolutely burns towers in an instant, and they've nerfed it for like 2 patches in a row, and he's still doing it. Ziggs is just very good at taking towers.
Yeah, he's still just insane in the current landscape of the game, and that Mega Inferno Bomb, if you get fed, I mean, typically it is almost like the champion's got something going his way all the time. You always see him on the top damage leaderboard, Ziggs being #1 by a significant margin. So goes to show he's not only good at taking down towers, he will take you down pretty fast also. They followed up with the likes of a Kai'Sa, so I'm intrigued to see what support they're going to pair with that one. Braum being off the table. They could try and play towards an Alistar if possible. But though, there you go. That I was just about to talk about Vex especially, and how he loves to play Wukong. Wukong being taken away by Butterfly Dream for Yoda. I wonder what what jungler's going to go the way actually of Vex in this game.
I'm interested to see. I mean, I think the Janna Kai'Sa is, in my opinion, S+ AD carry right now. I think the highest competitive AD carry that you'll see picked through the Origin series. Janna is like the counter into Braum. That's very Vex. That is a Vex pick through and through. Olaf in the jungle. For me, though, Butterfly Dream, for you, they're building like a wombo combo comp. Like, they're clearly setting up for just press our ultimates, win the game, is essentially there you go. Yasuo comes through. Press our ultimates, win the game. That's the Butterfly Dreams for you tactics straight off the bat.
Ooh, I like this one. Now, you said the wombo combo is really clean, though the Vex pick here going to the Olaf works really well. You're going to be able to cleanse all of that CC with that Ragnarok ultimate. Down to synergy, I would say clearly for Butterfly Dream for Yoda, so we'll see how that's going to come down in this very first game.
All right, then. Well, there's your pick and ban. I've got nothing else to add here. I'm going to disappear into the Shadow Realm. You two kick off with the game. I'll be waiting for you when it's all finished. See you later.
See you soon.
Thank you so much, Trid. And indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be jumping right into game #1 here of the Origin series. It's been a long time coming, Scoundrel, and we got some really clean drafts coming on through here. And if there's one draft that could take down Trovanova in game 1 of the Origin series, a wombo combo comp could do the trick.
I mean, look, first Drake, especially if it's a high priority Drake like Infernal, even with the Infernal nerf, still remains a very high priority Drake. Could be somewhere where we see Butterfly Dream if you look to fight, if they're all level 5, which you should be by that first Drake point. If you're able to combo those ultimates together, there is very little counterplay because it is just pure CC comboing with Yasuo. The only problem that I have with this comp is it is very Yasuo focused. So like if Yasuo doesn't do well, you are limiting some of that upper end of kind of like what this comp can achieve. Whereas Trovanova, they've just got a very standard, like high, I would call it like an S tier picks type of comp. Like you've just got some comfort for Vex and Clamares. You have a very strong 2v2 in the top lane. You have a tower taking machine in the form of Ziggs, and then you just got Janna Kai'Sa bot lane. Like you're going to scale insanely well into the late game. And if you can survive through some of those first early skirmishes, you know, Trovanova should have more of an edge when it comes to sort of taking towards that mid-late game.
Yeah, they should be working potentially towards a very strong game. Though, if I want to have potentially a negative caveat here for Trevor Nova, because we talked about it, this team has been participating a lot in community-run tournaments as of recently. And I would say mainly Clamaris, he likes to go for some big beefy champions that like to split push. That's exactly what the likes of a Camille will attend and try to do and perform in those games. Though sometimes a little bit too much down that route, and it does sometimes cause his team a lot of issues. So Clamaris, I'm hoping to see some improvement over time. We haven't seen him playing quite some time for Trova Nova in the last few weeks or months. So I'm hoping to see Clamaris having the opportunity to improve on that sense.
Unironically, though, if he goes for split push this game, it might actually benefit Trovo Nova. Because I don't think you win team unless you're snowballing. If you're Trovo Nova and you snowball the Olaf jungle, you could potentially take over at that first dragon fight with a very, very fed Olaf. But I actually don't think you win team fights versus Butterfly Dream for you. I think Butterfly Dream for you have just drafted the ultimate wombo combo team fight. As long as they have those ultimates available and they can land them correctly, you have an almost unbeatable team fight in that scenario, right?
Yeah.
So I think, unironically, if you choose to cross map for first tower, if you're Trovo Nova, you let Clamaris do his split push thing, that might work out better for you. Like, what I would actually prefer to see from Trovo Nova is use the Ziggs, use the Olaf, rotate around the map, and just focus on breaking towers very quickly. Build up a big enough gold lead up through neutral objective control that by the time that it comes to actually team fight, maybe like second Drake, third Drake, maybe even Baron, you're so far ahead in terms of item spikes, the wombo combo doesn't matter as much.
Yeah, we saw it through a lot in the Summer Cup as of recently for the Icon series, that typically you have a rotation that's very popular right now in that tournament, which is you would have the jungler rotate with the two-man crew, typically on the Dragon lane, and you would go straight up for a very early dive. So we'll see how that's going to be coming on through. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be right on the Wild Drift for game number 1 of the Origin series. Is going to be Butterfly Dream for Yoda versus myself, Trova Nova, and already looking for a little bit of an engage on myself, Lonely Kid. That is me, in fact, when I was in high school, but that's okay. We'll overlook that point as they're going for a very deep invade this time around, Excandrel, and trying to snatch away that red buff.
Yeah, looks like Urian does finally find his way over. You don't win this, though. I mean, Urian and Lonely Kid, you just have to accept that you've made the mistake. The exhaust comes through. Lonely Kid drops. You kind of had to accept you made the mistake here, but nice rotation here, Max.
Yeah, I mean, you got the Braum. He's just an insane support level 1, and he's going to be actually able to make it 1-1 at the end for his team. That 1 kill being actually given over 2-1 on the Yasuo, so definitely one of...
Gold to Yasuo early on, that's good. And actually, Urian coming away with the red buff is a nice start because he should be able to, especially with the changes that have happened to Wukong recently, where you do get a little bit of HP back from using your first ability, sustain his way through the jungle, shouldn't be affected too much, and will get to that first Scuttle Crab very early on. Looks like Pose, I mean, this is very aggressive from the Braum, just like buying a lot of space in the early game here for the Yasuo. You do sometimes see this from supports. They'll stay in the mid lane very early on, especially in a matchup that can be a little risky, and they'll just give a bit of an edge over to their mid laner and then rotate down towards the bottom side of the map, which is what we've seen here from both Trovo Nova and Butterfly Dream.
I mean, we talked about it, right? Braum is such an impactful support in the early game. Do you want to try and get that passive proc on as many targets as possible, and it could lead to some early kills coming your way. But especially down to the support meta, we got to mention it, especially that I believe maybe a few of the PC fans of League will be tuning in for this broadcast for the very first time. The map is a lot smaller, so supports are trying to have more of an impact in the early to mid-game phase. Will go down the mid lane, and they can very easily roam to both sides of the map without too much of an issue. You can see the Janna Grizzly is going to be in mid, and Braum once again is going to come back towards that mid lane position. So yeah, support meta is very heavily focused around roaming, and also when you do have the likes of a Seraphine, she's going to play really far away, so Luthien is going to be normally safe versus Hydro. Doesn't need the support just yet as he connects the root to the Hydro, and he will be able to join the party just in time. But they're roaming so efficiently, I'm really enjoying Excandrel.
Yeah, and I think you won't see a huge number of roams just yet. I have sometimes seen Alistairs pick up these really early roams and head towards like top lane and mid lane and just go for like crazy headbutt pulls. I think once that first dragon drops though, and you start to see people think about rotating for the Rift Herald, that's where you sometimes see the support make the rotation, and you leave the AD carry down bot lane to get solo experience and solo gold. Although I should just say bot laner in this game because we actually have a Seraphine in that bot lane position, which is a very popular thing we see a lot of European teams do. So I'm not expecting a huge number of roams until that first dragon has gone. And then I'm expecting when we get towards first dragon, and then we get to that, after that we had, wait a second.
Unstoppable force coming into the top side of the map. That's going to be the second kill actually coming over to the side of Butterfly Dream for Yoda. Kill actually going on over then to the Malphite. So that's Lonely Kid picking it up. He's going to crash into tower. So that's going to be a little bit of XP and gold lost to the hands of Trovo Nova.
I'm not going to be too harsh on Clemares there. There was a way that you could potentially look to outplay that by using the Camille ultimate through the animation of the Malphite ultimate, and you basically don't get hit. But that's really hard to do. It's hard enough to flash the Malphite ultimate, let alone do this. And plus, he was so close, you don't get much time to react. So he would have had to have predicted it if he was really going to make that play. But that's what you can see with a Malphite. Like, they just blow 2 ultimates. They should be back up by the time. Actually, well, no, they might not be back up. I don't think
they will.
No, they won't be. That might prove to be an issue here. That might give Trovo or Trovo Nova a little bit of an edge when it comes to this first dragon fight, because those 2 ultimates are key ways to facilitate Yasuo. If you can't facilitate Yasuo with the 2 really, really strong knockups that you've got, you're relying on Braum, and that can be a little edgy when looking for like a really good engage for the Yasuo. So if Trovo Nova want to go for this, I wouldn't even be remiss to see them start this up and try and take the team fight.
Yeah, you're reading my mind, Excandrel. Just about to talk about that. But yeah, the knockups not being there, definitely one is not going to be happy-chappy about that one. So far, it's going to be the Ocean Drake, the first Ocean of this game. As Trovo Nova just going to control a bit the river side. They did get the River Scuttler, so that Info and that Vision is definitely going to be coming their way. But you can see there's definitely some strong presence coming out from Butterfly Dream for Yoda. They're trying to push it away as much as possible. And the fight should be happening very soon between these 2 teams. Satchel Charge trying to zone them away, but Trovo Nova going to give that one up for the time being, and Bloodfire might actually try and go for it, but they're going straight to mid to try and make sure that tower stands strong.
I love this from Trovo Nova. This is the classic play when you're dealing with potential Drakes. You just try and game prio mid. So you push that wave in, you crash it under tower, especially with the Ziggs, you threaten that mid lane tower very quickly. And I'm really liking this. Now, the ultimates are back up for Butterfly Dream for you, so I'm very glad that Trovo Nova are not attempting to fight this dragon, and they are cross-mapping it. They are going for that top lane tier 1. They're going to combine the Olaf and the Camille to pick that up, and they should be able to get first tower of the game. I think this is a very sensible and very good decision here from Trovo Nova, especially because it's only an Ocean Drake. I'm very, very happy that they made this play. I think it was the best play they could have made in this scenario.
Yeah, I think they could have potentially played a little bit around the ultis not being up, but I fully respect. I mean, you called it earlier. It's like it's your job, you know, to talk about the game. But that's going to be the Killer Instinct coming on through with a Mega Inferno Bomb. Does connect at the very end. The Encore will be coming on through to get some extra CC, but will not save the life of Urian. They're going to put their focus onto Lucian too, trying to make himself over to the heal, and he will lose his life to the hands of that bouncing bomb from Pose. And it seems like slowly but surely there's a little bit of a lead getting built into the bottom side. Poe's going to be encountered there. The Braum passive is going to be chucked, and that's some big crit coming out from Wild into the Glacial Fissure. They want to make sure he cannot escape as Trovo Nova loses himself another play in this fight.
Yeah, I think that was just a little overstep from Urian on the Wukong. They caught out and then kind of threw Luthien under the bus as well. Like, they both kind of died in that scenario. Really aggressive play from Hydro there, and I love that he just found that opportunity to just jump in with the Kaiser ultimate. He had the backup of what should be a level 4 Janna shield now as well, so you're going to get a huge AD boost out of that. So that is like a nice little catch. But the roaming squad of Braum Yasuo, very strong 2v2, just comes down and is able to recoup a kill. So not bad in the slightest. And this is that you can see here. I think, unfortunately, Urian just didn't realize that he was being, he was seen trying to go for a Krug invade. And that, honestly, it was a risky Krug invade. You didn't really have the priority in the bot lane to do that for free. And so I think just a little bit greedy from Urian, and he was punished for it aptly.
Trovo Nova's got really good vision into the river side, especially bottom side of the map. You can see you got yourself currently 2 wards. One of them was actually towards where the Yasuo currently stands on the minimap. So they could very easily get the information that, sure, there was going to be one player trying to go for those Krugs. Krugs, by the way, that have been nerfed a little bit. Not only Krugs, but the Gromp. So any kind of junglers, especially a jungler like a Olaf, could actually farm up a little bit quicker and try and set up those ganks a little bit faster too and get some more gold up his sleeve. So I'm enjoying that. It could help them out quite a bit, though. Bottom side, there you go. That's going to be the conversion. Grizzly taking a little bit of a hit from Silver Heat. Looking for the conversion. Urian really trying to close that gap and go for the Cyclone. You will be able to close it. Cyclone does connect onto one target, but be careful. You're not with the rest of your team, and that's going to be Vex instantly shut down in that fight. Hectic Ultimatum onto the Wukong will also be traded away. So 1-for-1 so far, but they're going to right under tower, pick up the second. They're looking for the third as the Yasuo is split away from the rest of his team, and he went, oh no way, graceful final breath. It was almost a clutch play. Does make a decent trade-off at the end, but that tower is still going to go in favor of Trovo Nova. That's unstoppable force right in the tower. The tower aggro is still going to be on the likes of Pose. Will he lose his life actually to the mouth fight? Seems like there will be the case, and it will be another kill coming out. There will be a one-on-one trade happening once again. There's a lot of back and forth here, Scoundrel.
I'm going to be real with you, Max. I am super impressed with Butterfly Dream for you. I didn't know what to expect coming into this.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think they are giving Trovo Nova a good run for their money. They're behind in gold right now. Clearly, they're about 4,000 down. Trovo Nova especially coming out ahead. But I was not expecting them to have this level of resistance. The problem that I think they're having right now is they're just getting caught on the rotate too quickly. Like Trovo Nova are the ones being proactive. They're dictating the pace, which I really like. They're trying to force smaller skirmishes by pressuring out side lanes. Let's take a look at that once again. Like Vex, yeah, he dies, but look at how much work that he gets done before he dies. He's taken everyone to like sub 50% HP, and at this point it's just cleanup duty for the rest of his team. Like yeah, it's sad that he kind of went in 1v4, but that's kind of what an Olaf does sometimes.
Yeah.
He did enough work to allow the cleanup squad of the Camille and the Kai'Sa to jump to that backline and take people down. And you're funneling gold into the Kai'Sa, you're funneling gold into the Camille. They're both at 7,600. They're the richest members in the game next to the Yasuo. You're giving the gold to the right targets right now.
I think this is a little bit of an early herald. He doesn't even get the ram forward. No, you're not going to get any plates off of that first mid lane tower. So an unfortunate run of events for Trovo Nova. I think they tried to win priority towards this second Drake. There's going to be the Mountain Drake. Didn't quite go as planned for them. But Trovo Nova trying to potentially take the fight their way. GA is now going to be up for the likes of Orianna on the Wukong, looking for the Cyclone once again. Does get on a decent target, but right away, that's going to be the Ragnarok procs away. Encore goes pretty far into the backline of Trovo Nova, but they're just taking so much damage on the side of Butterfly Dream for Yoda. All of the players are currently taken down. 2 players currently out of this game, and that's going to be the third fall into it. Now they get priority towards the Dragon, and that's going to be the focus of Trovo Nova.
Yeah, that was, again, I think that was their best opportunity for Butterfly Dream for you to make their comp work. Like, they had all of their ultimates up. They were all ready to go. Like, that was the perfect opportunity around a Drake fight. If you were ever going to win a team fight versus Trovo Nova, that was the team fight that you were going to win. You just had to try and execute on it properly. I don't know if we're going to get a replay of it at some point, but it'd be good to break it down. But the you know, I talked a little bit about that gold lead that was accrued earlier on, just through going through side lane plays, trying to funnel as much neutral objective gold into you as possible. The item spikes are just there right now for Trovo Nova. So the item spikes are there. They've got the Triforce Blade of the Ruin King for the Camille. It's very, very strong dueling setup. You have all of your evolutions for the Kai'Sa. You have the Triforce almost into the Sterak's for the Olaf, and Ziggs right now kind of popping off with that Ludens too. So you had that opportunity, but unfortunately just kind of fluffed it a little bit when it came to execution. And I think the best way that you can approach these team fights as Trovo is try and split your team up a little bit. Make sure that Ziggs is coming from one side, Kai'Sa trying to come in at the other angle. Make it so that they can't just throw a Malphite ultimate and catch all of your carries in one go. And that's kind of the way that they played that fight.
Yeah, and Trovo Nova, from how they're controlling the map right now, they just want to wear out the entirety of Butterfly Dream. They are trying to get every single tower so far. 1 tower in every lane has been their priority, and they got it done so far. But especially, and you touched upon it, I think, on one of the very early team fights against Scandal, was the fact that Vex, despite him maybe not being the big carry of this game, he's still chunking down the health bars really quickly of Butterfly Dream for Yoda. And then you got the pickups start coming on through very clearly from the likes of Hydro, but Clamaris, he's looking for that 1v1. He's going to be joined up by Grizzly, Hectic Ultimatum into the final breath. It doesn't matter, they do not get himself the kill out of that one, and Clamaris is going to be the next focus, hit and knocked up by that Glacial Fissure. No one will be traded away in this one. Pose will join the party, sure, a little bit late, but oh man, he just chunked down their Seraphim like nothing.
Yeah, that's the thing about Ziggs. Like, once he gets ahead, he's so oppressive, and these bombs start to really, really hurt most of the squishier members on your team. I also want to pay a little bit of attention to Grizzly. 109 might not seem ridiculously impressive. 100% kill participation. This guy's been all over the map. He's been influencing everybody right now. I told you that he was very, very strong support, and I've been really, really impressed with the way that both him and Vex have had such an impact here. But this is the engage you could be looking for.
Yeah, Wukong, nice knockups. Unfortunately, Yasuo not going to be able to use that ultimate just yet. He's just got off cooldown, and now he's going to go for the opportunity straight for the back line. Gets the damage, picks up one. That's the double kill. Actually going over to the likes of Wild. Hydra trying to close that gap and move away. Does use the killer instinct to reposition in time. Be careful, don't go too far. That's the regret point. Butterfly lose one along the way, but that was still, as you said, a really good engage we were looking for coming out from Butterfly Dream for Yoda.
Yeah, I'm really, really glad that they were just decisive about it as well. Like, they just knew they had the Seraphine ult. They could just pop it in and go for the engage, and that was super, super big from them. I think that is the kind of that's the kind of engage that you want to look for. Like, you just as soon as they're grouped up, don't hesitate, pull the trigger. If you can get a multi-man knock-up, a multi-man engage, that's what you're looking for. Chain that CC. Don't use it all at once. Wukong ultimate. Then when they're dropping down for the knockup, Malphite ultimate. Then when they're dropping down for the knockup, the second Wukong ultimate. Then the Braum ultimate. Layer the Seraphine ultimate over the top of it. That's the way you want to try and play these fights. Just trying to chain that CC together so there's no way that Trovo Nova can respond to an engage. I do think Trovo Nova overstepped. I think they had a lot of gold in their back pockets that they can go and spend on sort of big item upgrades. We've just seen the Ziggs pick up the Rabadon's Death Cap. We've just seen Kai'Sa finish up her Infinity Edge now as well. The Sterax is there. We have the Harmonic Ardent combo for Grizzly on the Janna. I don't envision that these fights are going to be as clean as that every time, especially with these new item spikes being picked up. But that's the kind of way that you want to see Butterfly Dream for you execute.
Yeah, the 10k goal lead currently going over to Trovo Nova. This is not looking all good for Butterfly Dream for sure. It could still work out. One combo like that could definitely maybe reduce the impact of such a significant goal lead, but they are still having a really hard time. And the damage you talked about, the itemization power spikes coming on through, is going to make matters even worse for Butterfly Dream for Yoda. Now Baron is going to be up, so you know that the next fight could be even more impactful, knowing whichever team takes that could instantly secure himself a Baron or even potentially a Cloud Drake, depending on where you want to go throughout this game. I think that Vex, I mean, he's already moving towards the Dragon, and he's going to pick it up solo, apparently. He doesn't need the team. I mean, he's Olaf after all. He's going to take that one very easily for himself, but they do not know he's there because the lack of vision is very, very obvious for Butterfly.
And I'm also loving what we're seeing here from Trovo Nova as well. They've kind of opened up the map. They haven't gone into a 1-3-1. They've kind of gone into a 2-1-1 with like Vex tracking across the map right now. But that's good because, you know, if you can avoid straight up team fighting against Butterfly Dream for you're in a strong position. You can see that Clamares is, you know, you mentioned it, is a very strong aspect of his play. Back into that split push. He's got that tier 2 in the bot lane dropped. What I would actually love to see though is, you know, keep that pressure up and then a setup around Baron. I want to see some vision clearing around Baron. I want to see Vex tracking the top side of the map, because if they can threaten Baron but keep Clamares split pushing in the side lanes, that is enough to kind of like make it awkward for Butterfly Dream for you. They're going to put a bit of pressure on them and make it difficult for them to respond. I'm also loving that Clamares at any opportunity is just heading into the blue side jungle, clearing out jungle camps, because the more gold that you starve away from Butterfly Dream for you, the more of an advantage that you're going to have heading to towards this late game.
Yeah, he's also installing a lot of deep vision, which is allowing him to track a little bit easier the likes of, for example, the Malphite here. He knows Lonely Kid is going to be in that position. He knows they're currently split away, so it could make matters a little bit easier for them. And he also has that teleport, so if really this is going to be a big fight or Baron engage they want to go for, he should be able to join that without any issues whatsoever. There you go, back in the jungle, as you said, Xcandra, and he's looking for more opportunities, maybe to find a sneaky kill on the likes of the Malphite. You unfortunately can't move away from that Hectic Ultimatum, even with the Unstoppable Force. That's going to be the game plan for them. But so far, you can really see this is a very defensive position from Butterfly Dream for Yoda. And because of their composition, you want to be the one to initiate. How they're playing this game so far, it doesn't seem like they got that confidence anymore they had until the 12-minute mark.
Yeah, I think they're struggling to find a really strong setup. I mean, Vex has already forced a flash out here. That's a really nice flash to pick up. I mean, I'm not sure about this engage. You don't have the follow-up.
Oh, that's the big encore there onto the backline, but unfortunately, the team is not there to back it up. Final breath onto the Janna. Grizzly going to be moving away thanks to the flash. And now it's just looking horrible for Butterfly Dream for Yoda as they're all losing their life one by one. A little bit of a deep engage at the very end from Clamares, but you know what? Your team is there to back it up, so you'll be completely A-okay. 4 kills going over to Trovo Nova, and the Baron is still up, but not going to be their focus, apparently.
No, I would be just looking for inhibitors. If you can get inhibitor towers at this point, those are things that don't come back. So you're going to get natural pressure in any lane that you're able to take an inhibitor tower in. I would almost always choose an inhibitor tower if I could do it safely, because these are things that are going to be there creating natural pressure in a lane for you. They may even just be straight up looking for the game. 2 inhibitor towers is really strong. You have 15 seconds to go here, Max. This could be game 1.
I did not expect them to finish it this quickly. I mean, this is what the split push is coming up from Clamares allowed to set up, and now they're just going to hammer down on that Nexus, and that's it and done. We just got ourselves our first game of the entire Origin series given over to the likes of Trovo Nova in great fashions. Had a few little hiccups here and there because of the strong composition from Butterfly, but I mean, Trovo Nova coming into this Xcandra, we were expecting them to take the win, and they take it very cleanly at the very end.
Yeah, and I think it was just a really awkward engage. And I get it. It was like you were trying to deal with the split push that was coming through, but it was an awkward engage. Yasuo had just flashed towards his tower. He couldn't follow up with the last breath on the Wukong engage. But even though Trovo Nova won, they're the expected winners, I was pleasantly surprised. I think Butterfly really made them work in the early game. I think they had a good cohesive team comp that had a clear idea, a clear identity, and that's what I do like. But I think Trovo Nova were just able to outplay at the end of the day.
Yeah. I do expect, though, looking back onto the draft, we had some bans that were maybe a little bit all over the place. Now that they played versus Trovo Nova once, maybe you're going to get rid of a few of the champions that caused you a lot of issues. Thinking especially back to Clamaris's pick of the Camille, that could be one of the champions you want to try and get rid of if possible. But there you go. That's going to be all said and done for our very first game. Congratulations to Trovo Nova, but that's just one game of the series. So we'll be heading over to a break. And after that, we'll be back with Trid on the desk to try and break down that game.
I've reclaimed myself back from the Shadow Realms, coming and joining these two fine gentlemen after that first match, which I think went a little bit faster than we were expecting, didn't it, Max?
A little bit of a speedy game right there, but as Xscoundrel touched upon, and I fully agree with, there were definitely some moments of greatness coming out from Butterfly Dream for Yoda. Already just purely in draft, there was a clear game plan that they executed really well, but coming into the second game, they need to find ways to deal with those split pushes that just split the team, and if the team's not together, well, the composition just kind of fall apart.
Yeah, I think there are limited areas that you can fight in Wild Rift, right? I think when you draft a team fight comp, you have certain points in the game where you're going to execute. Those points are like first dragon, where you're level 5, you have your ultimates unlocked. Second dragon, you don't usually like Fiesta Rift Herald. Some teams do. And then you have Baron, obviously, and then, you know, as it goes on. Other than that, you do generally tend to get these segmented skirmishes. So when you're drafting a team fight comp, you do put the pressure on yourself to say, when we have the opportunity to engage, we pull the go button and go for it. And I think there was just some hesitancy, like some hesitation around that in the early game. But we did see some elements of that team fight that worked really well for Butterfly Dream for Yoda. But I really think what we saw from Trovo Nova was just excellent idea about how to play the map, knowing to stay away from team fights, building gold leads through neutral objectives like split pushing and taking towers in the side lanes. And they knew they didn't want a 5v5. So why 5v5, right? They just grouped up in little skirmishes and played it that way. So they knew how to avoid this, and they played it well.
And that's the thing, right? Like when they did group and they were sat in the mid lane for a long time, about 12 minutes in, BDY, they actually found like a glimmer of hope. They found the team fight they were looking for. They layered the CC. They were able to actually have a definitive win, where in other areas of the map, they were struggling. So I was wondering if either of you could talk me through what was different about that fight in mid lane and what was wrong with the fight in top lane at the end, which ultimately lost them the game.
Yeah, I think in the mid lane, the fight that you saw where they actually won, it was really the only fight that they decisively won in the game.
Yeah.
Trovo Nova were grouped up. They'd just come off the back of a team fight win. They stayed around too long. They had a lot of gold in their back pockets that they hadn't spent. So the item discrepancies weren't as big as they maybe should have been. And they presented themselves as the tier 2 in the mid lane. And honestly, what I saw from Butterfly Dream was they just pulled the go button. They said, okay, Wukong go in, let's just engage. And that's what we need to see from them more. The top lane fight, very simple. Yasuo flashed towards his tower, and Wukong then decided that was the time to go in. So usually when you have a knockup, like a Malphite knockup or a Wukong knockup, you're looking for Yasuo ultimate straight away to kind of combo with it. Yasuo was way too far away from the team fight. Wukong set the team fight up by himself. And once that once that initial engage is gone for the Butterfly Dream comp, and you haven't immediately converted it into some kind of kills or some kind of chain CC combo, it's so easy for Trovo Nova to recover. So once they got through that first Wukong ultimate, they recovered.
Yeah, the composition worked out great that one time, then back in mid in the 12-minute mark. But also, you got to keep in mind that when you're coming into this tournament, and Trid talked about it earlier at the very start of the show, you had 370 teams that signed up. A lot of these guys signed up as a team, and they never played together before. And you can see that these few teams that we do not know of, and the players we do not know of, have to struggle potentially and work on that kind of synergy and that communication especially. I think that against the top teams that have been playing in so many of the past few community run tournaments, that is going to be the clear difference. It's how you communicate and how you control most of the map, which is the reason why Trovo Nova knew how to control the map and how to especially bully the composition of Butterfly into submission.
Yeah, and I think when you've got a Ziggs, it takes 3 to 5 seconds, especially towards the mid-late game, to get a tower. So you make one tiny error in rotations, and suddenly Trovo Nova pop out with a Olaf, a Camille, and a Ziggs, and the tower's gone. So you have limited windows to mistakes. And honestly, what we saw from Trovo Nova was they took those first-tier towers very easily. They pushed that vision line into the enemy jungle, and then they made those quick rotates between each of the lanes, just slowly chipping away at each of those towers in the lanes. And then once you built up a gold lead, they had a 10k gold lead by the time that team fight went wrong. It doesn't matter how well you execute on a team fight for Butterfly Dream, unless you're hitting the pitch perfect, which is just like making it so they can't do anything by chaining all of your CC together, which is very difficult to make work, by the way. you're looking at you're looking at a team that's going to have such a significant item advantage on you that even if they don't have a classic team fight comp, they are just going to win through pure item advantage. And that's really what we saw. Yes, okay, there was some missed execution, but it was just eventually some, winning through just pure item advantage.
And one of the things you touched on before you threw to the break was that, hey, okay, they kind of drafted around this wombo combo composition. There were a couple of inefficient picks or bans, the way you kind of posed it, Max. Going into game 2, what do you think would be a nice adaptation for them to explore? Do you think they could probably refine the wombo combo, or do you think they have to throw the playbook out and look for something different here?
I think there's definitely ways for them to refine the way they played it. I talked about synergy and communication. That's typically an issue you're going to try and resolve over days, weeks of play. So I don't think that's something they can right away fix throughout this series. So it might be a little bit harder. In terms of draft, I think you want to maybe try and get rid of those good split pushing champions, but you only got 2 bans per team. So that's kind of hard to do. If you take away the Camille, Fiora's available. Other champions are really good at doing that. So I would say if they can try and work on playing together a little bit more, that'd be great. But I said it can be a little bit complicated. But otherwise, I think the draft was pretty decent, but it's down to execution and the fact that Trevor Nova just definitely outscaling them in the entire game.
I would just get rid of Ziggs. I know Ari might seem scary, but just get rid of Ziggs. I think Ziggs is too good and competitive right now. I think it's too easy for him to snowball advantages through tower taking. Towers are worth quite a lot of gold, and he's very obnoxious once he gets ahead in terms of the amount of poke that he can put out. Yeah, I think you actually had the remedy for poke. I think you had the hard engage here, but obviously we never really saw them find the correct opportunities to go in. So I think get rid of Ziggs. That would be my only adaptation. But honestly, I think they drafted a comp that if you are not confident in your individual players' matchups into your opposition, which against Trovo Nova, why would you not be? Like, these guys are some of the best in Europe. Then that kind of comp can work because you can just get to first dragon and hope they make a mistake and look for the engage and snowball it that way. So I actually think their comp made a lot of sense. I loved the identity of it, but it just was very difficult for them to properly execute because of the way that Trovo Nova kind of split the map.
Well, they've got their first taste of playing against Trovo Nova. They're definitely going to have some learnings from that. We're giving them some time to think about their draft, have a nice little break. We're going to do exactly the same thing. When we come back, we're going to start talking about game number 2. So make sure you're here after the break. Welcome back to the Origin series. We've already seen Trovo Nova take a 1-0 lead against Upstart's Butterfly Dream for Yoda. I'm never going to get tired of saying that name. And as always, I'm joined by Maxman and Excoundrel to take us through all of tonight's action. So, gents, we're one game down. For people just tuning in, bit of an error for BDY was picking a wombo combo team and doing it out of comfort, but not really being able to adapt and keep up with what's happening with Trovo Nova's comp. Kiernan, I'm coming to you just for some general thoughts on what we need to see next.
As I said, like in the previous case, I don't think what they drafted was bad. Don't get me wrong. As I said, I love the identity of it. Like, I think it had a very clear purpose. But when you draft something that is purely team fight and doesn't really give you any other avenues, you do limit yourself to certain opportunities in the map to actually make it work. And those are usually around the big mutual objectives. And a lot of these team fight comps, they like to snowball off the first dragon of the game. That dragon that spawns very early on, they want to group up around it and just make it happen. But when you have someone like Clamares who loves, Camille and these split pushes, that it's so easy to cross map it and just trade and snowball through first tower taking gold and then eventually towers in other areas. So it's just about, I think they need to be more decisive and they need to just make those engages happen. I think they were waiting for the perfect moment. You're never going to find the perfect moment. You just need to make it. You need to go make it happen as soon as you find any opportunity to engage. Just try and do it.
Yeah, I agree. In general, it's going to be one of the attempts that they could try and go for BDY to try and potentially fix themselves and try and take a series off the likes of Trovo Nova. Though Trovo Nova, and we talked about this especially on the pre-show before this matchup, is that they got extremely big hero pools. All the players especially talked about Grizzly, the fact he can play anything. If you're talking just about drafts, it is so hard to push Trovo Nova in a corner unless you not only ban away really good priority picks, and one you talked about earlier, Scoundrel, was potentially the Ziggs, you also got to pick them yourself. So you always know as a fact that Trovo Nova are going to have a draft, maybe not as good as what they initially anticipated, but they're still going to have a really good draft they can play and execute around really well. So it's mainly down to execution for BDY. If they want to try and take another game, they could try and go down to a similar strat. I think that could be fine, but it's how they play around the map and how they deal with those split pushes especially that will distinctively make the difference in the second game.
Well, we're jumping into pick and ban, so we're going to start seeing those differences coming through. We targeted saying, get the Ziggs out of the way in the banning phase first. That's what you want to see, Kiernan. Are you going to get your wish? We're going to find out. I think it has to be BDY. I don't think Trovo would opt into the Ziggs ban, would they?
Not when you're blue side. You would never usually opt into the blue side. Now they ban away the Draven. My assumption is that there is a Draven one trick on BDY. that is my assumption, because otherwise I don't know if you would ban Draven in other circumstances here. Braum ban is an interesting one that gets taken away. It's obviously a Grizzly Q, a very, very good Braum player. So yeah. I think it makes a lot of sense in that instance.
They might want to try and take. Sorry,
wasn't it Butterfly Dream for You that banned away the? Yeah, it was Butterfly Dream for You that banned away they banned away the Draven. They banned away the Draven last time, right? Though it was Butterfly Dream for You that were on blue side, and no, Trovo Nova were blue side.
Trovo
Trovo they
Draven,
back to blue side. Yeah.
BD4Y banned Garen. Trovo then banned Gragas, and BD4Y then banned Ari, which they've done again.
Yeah. So, okay, no issue with that one so far. It seemed like they're going to go down a pretty similar path, though Trovo Nova are going to get rid of that Wukong. So it seemed like they were still having a few issues with that wombo combo composition based around those initiations from the likes of the Malphite with the Unstoppable Force and also the Cyclone of the Wukong. So it seemed like they want to try and put a caveat to that kind of a plan that was set up by BDY early in this series, and they're going to go back towards the Kai'Sa. I mean, Vex was setting up those fights so well for the Kai'Sa, right? Put everyone down to minus 50% HP. Then the Kai'Sa with that Killer Instinct would go straight and get access to the backline. One of the few AD champions that can actually do that in the game currently, and that's why it worked out so good. But Garen, not banned this time, Excoundrel, and that's going to be the first pick for BDY.
Yeah, Garen coming through. I don't blame them. Like, they're going to go for the Camille, so it's going to be Garen, Baron lane, Camille in the jungle. So they are trying to limit Clamares here. They're trying to make him feel a little bit more uncomfortable, but that will be Camille in the jungle. And then we're going to have, I have seen some Camille mid, but I'm not expecting Camille mid here. But Garen, very strong Baron laner if you can make him work. I wouldn't say he's like an automatic win type of champion. You have to have someone that's relatively good at frontlining to know how to pilot Garen. A lot of Garen's skill comes with the ability to know when you can't engage, and like a lot of it is like zoning the enemy team away, knowing when to be threatening, knowing when to peel off. Like it's a lot of nuance to the way that you play Garen on the front line, even if mechanically he's not that difficult of a champion to play. Like a boomer like me can play Garen. I love the Kai'Sa Janna lane though. It's just a super strong lane that's quite difficult to deal with, but BDY,
Ooh,
they
get
get
it.
the Ziggs. This is looking like a spicy comp from Butterfly Dream right now. They're kind of drafting a lot of high tier picks.
Ooh. Okay, yeah, it is looking like an interesting pickup here, going for the likes of that Ziggs, working pretty good with the Galio also to back it up. So this is a big engaged potential type of composition coming out from BDY. I'm really enjoying it. Of course, you're going to have the backline just going to be continuously poking in this game. So I'm enjoying it. And also, if their focus is to try and get those towers, especially paired with a Camille, it's going to work out fantastically well. They're just yoinking some of the strats that were set up from Trovanova in that first game of this BO3 series. But now there you go. Clamaris, I talked about it. I love his Gragas. Maybe a little bit overzealous from time to time. He's going back towards the Gragas. And even though the Camille, I would say, is his best champion, his Gragas is definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, a couple of things that I want to just pick up from this draft phase. Camille Galio combo. It is disgusting to play against. You Camille ult someone, you Galio ultimate on top of Camille. There is no way that person escapes the knockup from the Galio ultimate, and then they get taunted, and it's very difficult to deal with. It's a very classic combo that is translated over to Wild Rift very nicely. Gragas is, in my opinion, if you're going to go for a tank, Gragas is the best option into Garen in the Baron lane. Now, a good Garen should be able to beat Gragas because you can silence his drunken rage animation, stopping him getting the empowered basic attack. But in practice, that's very difficult to do consistently. So Gragas is one of those champions that I think is very solid into Garen in the top lane. Tristana is the final pickup here. That is not something that a lot of European teams favor. If you watch the Icon series in the Summer Cup, Southeast Asian teams absolutely love Tristana, but from talking to most pro teams over here, Tristana is like, if I get Lulu, fair enough. Otherwise, no. So I'm interested to see how Tristana functions for Butterfly Dream, because not many AD carries value her sort of quite highly right now in Europe.
Right, well, Kiernan, I'm going to let you explore that concept a little bit further, but first, I'm going to disappear. I'm going to let you two just go at it, and I'll touch back with you after the match.
Thank you very much, Tridder, as always. And we've got some interesting picks here coming out for this second game of this series. Once again, what's going to be happening? Trovanova, they take the win. They go themselves straight into the quarterfinals. And if BDY do take the L, we still do have a loser bracket. So they go straight into the lower bracket and will be having a second opportunity to rise to the occasion and move their way forward. But yeah, Excounder, you had a lot of things to say about that draft coming on through.
Yeah, sorry, I got a little bit carried away. Carried away.
It's passionate, man. Hey, 100K on YouTube, man. You're going for it, okay? You know what to talk about for the game right now. But this Tristana pick,
Wild Rift guys in gameplay.
There you go. But right now, I'm especially loving that Tristana pick. Reason why, she's played a lot in the Icon series, in the Summer Cup especially. She's got a really big pick rate recently, even though not being too popular, I would say, in Europe. So I'm actually really intrigued to see what's going to be the take of some of these CI/Turkish teams on the champion itself. They have a composition that can work really well around it. And you talked about it, right? The wombo combo between the Galio and the Camille. If you are able to single out one particular target from the side of Trovanova, there's no escape. If you have the burst there to back it up, you're going to be good. But Trovanova, the way to back it up, of course, is if they know which champion is going to be focused, boom, stasis enchant, you're golden. You're good to go. So that is going to be something that BDY is going to have to be able to deal with, but there's easy ways to find to play around that kind of stasis enchant.
I agree. I think stasis will be the big thing to pick up for both Kai'Sa and Seraphine in this game to ensure that they, stay safe versus that combo. But the problem is, if you prioritize stasis very early on, that's 800 gold investment that can limit some of your power spikes, especially for Kai'Sa, who has a very specific build that is designed to accelerate her evolutions as early as possible. So an 800 gold investment in stasis can often limit that and really limit your power output in the mid game. So the swings and roundabouts when dealing with these kind of engaged comps. My thought process for the Tristana is this. You have a Ziggs taking towers. You have a Tristana who can explosive shot the towers. It's very, very quick tower taking. So, you have a Camille, super quick, taking towers as well. Like, these guys will just be able to battering ram turrets and they will disappear in an instant. So that's my thought process for the Tristana here. I get it. I guess it's more of a tower taking focus coming out from Butterfly Dream. But overall, I think, Trovanova drafting what they felt was that they were comfortable with previously. They've got the Lee Sin as well, which is a super high priority jungler right now. Expecting Vex to be very aggressive in this matchup. And I'm still expecting Trovanova to sort of come out on top.
Yeah, I was especially wanted to talk about the Lee Sin that Vex used to play a long time ago. Then I think that especially the champion was getting banned a lot back in those community tournaments. So he went towards the Wukong, which works amazingly well, but they decided to ban the way the Wukong. And one thing about Lee Sin is he's good at virtually any stage of the game. He's strong early, he's strong mid, he's strong late game. He is the champion that will create those opportunities for you if needed. So then playing around that champion, I think, could definitely put a lot of issues in the mind of BDI.
There's a lot of discourse in the community about how Lee Sin sucks late game, but I completely disagree.
I like him.
No, okay, his damage falls offshore. He's not the tankiest in the world, but that kick will never not be useful. A good Lee Sin player can isolate a target, and that is the value of Lee Sin in the late game. He's all about finding those isolating kicks onto key targets that can set up for good, strong 45s. If I kick as a Lee Sin and I kill their mid lane or their AD carry and I die for it, that is a worth trade 1,000 times out of 1,000. Like, he can very easily set very strong plays up in that regard. So, I do really highly value Lee Sin in that sense.
Like a utility jungler almost. But back once again on the Rift for our second game of the series for BDY versus Trover Nova. As BDY, they're going to be then onto the blue side this time around, and red side is going to be over to Trover Nova. They're going to be checking out and putting a little bit of deep vision, especially thanks to Clemmer. He's going to put that vision on the blue buff up top to make sure they can exactly track down where the jungler of BDY is exactly going to roam, and that's going to maybe facilitate a few things for the likes of Vex and how he rotates. You want to gank very early on with this champion.
A couple of things to note here. This is something that we've seen some Lee Sins do. Because Krugs on the latest patch have had a HP nerf, you sometimes see Lee Sin start Krugs. You take the huge boost in experience that this camp gives you, and then you accelerate level 5 very quickly coming out of it because you get a bit of help from your laner. Bot lane as well, you saw Hydro and Grizzly Q in the brush and cheese. Look at the HP bars. I don't know if we can switch over to bot lane. Look at the HP bars of Luthien and Shift. What you can do as a Kai'Sa, if you're willing to cheese it, is to get into the brush and then wait until the enemy bot lane walks up and just press your first ability. And you instantly get isolated damage off on them before the wave hits. It's a very, very good way to punish people who go to help their jungler and just don't think about that brush ever being used. So I'm really, really impressed so far, because two things that, this new jungle pathing from Lee Sin that we've seen some junglers go for, and also just that very cheesy early start for Grizzly, Q, and Hydro. It's worked out nicely.
Yeah, also when you got the Zephyr coming out from Grizzly, despite that ability actually getting nerfed in the most recent patch, is still, Jan is still really good in terms of damage early game potential, so it's not going to hurt his opportunity too much. But I really like this Galleon in the support position, though. A scuttle here onto the bottom side of the map is going to be encountered. I like the fact that they're not trying to take the fight here for the side of BDY. Lee Sin, you have a nice rotation coming out from the bottom side. Also, an instant rotation coming out from Grizzly. And with this passive, that's going to be speeding up the move speed of your team. They're going to try and potentially get double scuttle control. And double scuttle control is going to be huge for Trover Nova in this early stage.
Yeah, I love this from Grizzly. Like, just... so really intelligent pathing from Vex to begin with, right? Full red side clear. Camille doesn't want to fight you in the early game in the river, so Camille's going to do a full red side clear into her scuttle because she doesn't want to go red-blue and expect Lee Sin to try and meet her there. So she tries to do something that's a little bit unexpected and go for a red side clear into the bottom scuttle because you wouldn't expect it from a Camille, right? And so then he, Vex paths straight down there, knows that he can win that matchup early on as long as he dodges out the stun and takes that scuttle. Then Grizzly Q, knowing that they have priority bot lane because they built a bit of priority in the early game. They have priority bot lane, uses that priority to roam up towards mid and secure the second scuttle of the game. Really big for Vex because now he has a significant level advantage to work with.
Yeah, it could help them out quite a decent bit coming into this. But here we go, continuing it on into this game. About to hit the 3-minute mark. Bottom side, that's going to be Vex going for the rotation. Thanks to the ward, knows that could facilitate potential gank. But he's going to go back. He's just looking for opportunity. He's not going to be overzealous. So I like that coming out from Vex. That's one great mark that I've seen. And reason why potentially beat Scoundrel early in ranked. Is just going to be always roaming around the map in really good ways. But first Drake is going to be up in now just about 45 seconds. So team's going to have to think about their very first reset to have priority on those positions if possible. I'm really liking this matchup. Garen then into a Gragas, and Gragas into a Garen I think works amazingly well. You can very easily poke it down with those barrels. And we want to see Lonely Kid get to that late game, become the real beefy frontline tank we expect him to be. And that could really cause a big issue, especially for the likes of this Kai'Sa, that if he tries to reposition, you can just get smited instantly by that Demacian Justice. So you better be careful because Lonely Kid might take you down given the opportunity.
Honestly, I think Gragas is just as good as a tank in the late game, though. They both have natural damage reduction in their kits. I actually prefer Gragas as a late game utility pick because he has a little bit more CC, can split fights up a bit better, can peel a bit better as well. So I think it's pretty solid. That's why I like Garen as an answer Gragas as an answer into Garen. I think it's a little better. But obviously, the first Drake of the game is going to be the Cloud Drake. So this is a Drake that It's difficult to say. Riot published stats that it was the second Drake in terms of win stats, or it was the Drake that gave the highest win percentage. But then I think it's a little confounding because I think some people just prioritized it when they were so far ahead, so that when you took Cloud, you were already so far ahead anyway that it didn't matter. But regardless, it is something that Trovo want to group up and play for. I think they have a very strong team fight at this stage in the game with the Seraphine, and you have a massive advantage on Vex in terms of jungle levels. So they're going to get it for free, and you can see that Butterfly Dragon don't even care. They're not even going to bother. They're going to back off and stay fine.
Yeah, especially here, they're doing something very similar to what Trovo Nova did in that first game. They don't want to try and contest the Drake, but they know there's a big chance that they're not going to be able to take that fight. All the ultimates were up on both sides, and you know that, especially because of that encore, you get hit by that, and you're basically done so. So I like that. BDY trying to take and learn from the strategy of Trovo Nova that they played up against in the first game. So that's a great mark of improvement of a team on the long term, thinking that potentially this is one of their very first tournaments, right? And they're trying their best to improve over time and get more skills under their belt. Mega Inferno Bomb under tower. Not going to connect, unfortunately, on the low HP bar of post. So you'll make it back to base potentially. No first blood. This is definitely a lot slower pace than what we saw in the very first series, but I'm enjoying it. Seems to say that BDY is definitely learning as this series goes on.
Looks like Vex just getting aggressive here. He's going to wait for... Luthien knows what's up, though. Luthien is not going to get anywhere near this tower. He kind of understands that Lee has just walked into the jungle. They have got a ward just at the top red side entrance that's kind of scouted Lee heading into the jungle. Now, Lee has got priority bot lanes. This is why this invade makes sense. He goes for the kick.
Yeah, Dragon's Rage coming on through. Vex got himself a shield and is going to go for the ring gauge once more. That's going to be the first blood over to Trovo Nova, looking for the double, but unfortunately the minion wave is not there to back him up. So they're going to have to move away back into the jungle position. Bouncing Bomb doing some really good work onto Grizzly, actually. But Trovo Nova, that's the dive you're looking for. That's 500 gold. And with the Herald now being up, that could facilitate things for them.
Yeah, and I think realistically, it was a really nice, play around the fact that you have natural priority with a Kai'Sa Janna. Galio is very difficult to make that work. This is a very aggressive play from Urian, though. Couldn't get in range of the Hextech Ultimatum, and Hydra is able to stay safe. But that was just, Vex using the priority in the bot lane to go for a nice kick there. Got a knock up on it as well. Doesn't convert it, though. Like, I want to see some more conversion here from Trovo Nova. They haven't really been able to capitalize on any more neutral objectives. And I think with the Rift Herald up, this would be my play. Just try and get some setup around the Rift Herald. Rotate your bot lane up there. You're not going to get any love right now trying to clear out turrets versus a Galio and a Ziggs. So I think that, trying to set up for this Rift Herald would be the best thing that you can do on the map right now, because everywhere else seems a little bit like a dead end.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's really weird. There's no lane swaps happening at this stage of the game. Typically, around the Herald spawn time, that is when the lane swaps happen. But Grizzly, especially thanks to his passive, is going to allow potentially his team to roam a little bit faster around the Rift. Though, focus down, Body Slam connects onto Lonely Kid, and he's trying to bully him out of submission in that fight. Bottom side, though, that's going to be the Kai'Sa. Hydra taken down into submission, so that's going to be a 1-to-1 so far. But the Herald going extremely low. Vex will indeed pick it up at the end, but they got 4-man in top. Are they going to use it right away? I think they might give it a shot.
Well, they're losing first tower regardless here, Max. Yeah. Unfortunately, they rotated too many resources out of this lane, and actually, this was super clever from Butterfly Dream for you. They basically said, fine, you go for Herald. I have a bit of a rant about Herald, where it's like, if you lose first tower of the game when you go for Herald, was it really worth it? And the answer is most of the time, no. But if you can use Herald to go for a setup on the second Drake, especially with Infernal, then you might be able to get more value out of it. So that's what I expect Trovo Nova to do here. They're probably not going to use it to secure a tower. They've already lost first tower of the game, so what's the point? They're probably just going to now use it as a way to create natural priority in mid lane to get a good setup on the Infernal Drake, which is what I expect them to do within the next minute.
That's like one of the best setups you could hope for in terms of the objective spawns in the jungle. Have yourself the Herald spawn, pick it up, and then have straight away the dragon that's going to spawn, and that's going to be the Infernal. That's the best setup you could hope for in terms of the little bit of the RNG part of the game of Wild Rift, and that's going to be working great for Trovo Nova so far. Though top side, the tower did go pretty low, so they could have a little bit of cross-mapping happen here and potentially make it even. Sylvie's going to get taunted away. Body Slam. Going to be able to actually move that one out of submission, but Silver E's got to be careful. Tries to get himself the ultimate to reposition with the jumps also. But he's just collapsed upon by 4 players, and Trovo Nova starting to get to the stage where they want to team fight, get those priority in the engages, and that is definitely going to give a huge kick to the knee on the side of BDY for this first Infernal Drake.
Yeah, that's why Gragas is good in these scenarios. He buys time, he can separate out team fights, and now the Infernal Dragon is up. You have a man advantage to work with. No Galio ultimates. That Camille Galio combo is kind of out the window. I think you're looking for a Urian steal here. This is one of the dragons that I do think is worth going for.
Oh, he gets it! Oh, the steal away coming up from Miriam is big. The encore connects on only one, connected by the root right after, but Trovanova, unfortunately, health bar all looking too good. Demacian Justice does get some significant damage, but not able to get the kill on Pose whatsoever. And now you go a little bit too deep. Lonely Kid, you're going to get punished, mate. You were in danger. As now the mid tower is open, they still got the Herald. Are they going to use it now? That seems like that's going to be a yes.
It feels like a Rage Herald right now because I actually don't know if you're going to be able to get this first tower of the game. You can see there's a lot of healthy HP bars. There's still a Ziggs here. You do have to be careful. I don't know if Trovanova can convert. I mean, Vex is going to have to look for a big engage if they want to make it work.
Oh, maybe. There you go. They poke them out pretty low. I think if the sweep slows down Vex for the time being. I thought if they did keep the Seraphine on the front line, if Pona was there, maybe he could have scared away a few more players of the likes of BDY, but apparently not going to happen just yet. But there's still, that's 2 plays. That's some extra gold coming your way. And talking about gold, we're just about 200 in favor of Trovanova. Not insane for a game that's now hit the 10-minute mark. I suppose is they're going to 1v1, gets ulted away, and that's going to be Luthien finding a very easy peek. I mean, yeah, Seraphine, there's not much you can do against that mobility.
Oh no. Has the Infernal Steel tilted Trovanova? Because that is the game it's separated out here. Looks like they should be able to get the kill onto the Camille. Nice pick up there with the Hydro, just able to get it. A double kill for Hydro, though, just off screen, picking up the Ziggs. That is a really good little bite back here and should open up an opportunity for this mid lane tier 1.
It's always so scary when you see a Kai'Sa get fed around the 10-minute mark. Reason why, she is a very late game scaling champion. She's going to get stronger and stronger as the game goes on. And she's already looking really comfortable. And Hydro, if he keeps on down this line, I will not be able to give this game over to BDY, despite the goal being a lot closer compared to what we saw by game 1 between these two teams of BDY and Trovanova. I think this is slowly but surely slipping away. And now the Stasis Enchant is coming on through. And we talked about that in the draft phase, right, Excandrel? About how you get yourself the Stasis Enchant, the combo is not going to work anymore for the Camille and also for the Galio. That Stasis Enchant is everything, as now Hydra not only is going to do an insane amount of damage, but also will be able to just cleanly and easily move away from those big engages.
Yeah, it looks like they're going towards the Gragas, but again, like Gragas, he'll be able to buy time here if the Camille ults. I mean, look at this. The whole team's responded.
Yeah, teleport. There you go. That's scaring them away. BDY, they do not want to get involved with this one. Nice on Cork and a little bit of extra CC. And the Monsoon is clinical, moving away that fight. And the team synergy is just destroyed for BDY. They take themselves down a few more players, 3 to be exact. And now they can try and crack him to open the Baron in the mid lane.
That piece of decision making is what I'm a little questioning. I think at the end of the day, like, why are you trying to kill a tank Gragas as a tank Garen and a Camille who doesn't get a huge amount of gold from the jungle right now? I'm not entirely convinced that was the play. It looks like they're going to be able to take up the Ziggs here as well. It should be able to then get back onto the Baron, and an easy take here for Trovanova. And that was off the back of what felt like a bit of a questionable gank. Like, why are you investing resources into trying to take out the tank Gragas at 12 minutes into the game? It doesn't feel worth it, you know? And it clearly wasn't, as Trovanova now pick up a huge neutral objective. And with the Mountain Drake spawning relatively soon, I feel that's going to go uncontested by Birthday Dream.
Yeah, and there's a Stasis Enchant actually just got purchased by Pose, and he's going for the full AP route. I'm trying to see how that's coming on through. But agree, Clamara should definitely not be the focus. Here it should be on Hydro. Pose too, if you can get on top of him, that's great. But you want to try and burn those Stasis Enchants, even if it's just by faking an engage, scare them away, pop that active item, and then maybe get yourself a good fight to follow up, but not going to happen just yet, as Galio's going to go for the push. Dragon's Rage actually going to be used up by Vex. Really doesn't want to be caught out here as the mid lane pushing as a 3-man crew for Trovanova.
Yeah, and with Baron, you can now start to split the map easily. We're in a 1-3-1 with Vex actually acting as a split push in the side lane here as well. Just trying to utilize that Baron buff in every single lane. Does look like Birthday Dream are trying to rotate between mid and bot as much as possible, but these rotations open up these opportunities to go for the extra towers, and that's already 2 towers taken very quickly here for Trovanova. They should be able to utilize this Baron buff, and one of the ways to deal with Ziggs quite nicely is the Baron. It makes Ziggs wave clear much more difficult to make work effectively. He can't clear the waves out as easily, and it looks like this will be at least mid lane tier 1 of the engage comes through.
Yeah, there you go. Stasis Enchant going to be burned away by Hydro, but he's still going to be good to go. And now they turn the tides in their favor as BDY lose himself 2 players. Luthien and Urian will be losing their life in the process. The ult comes down, Clamarish, but he's still... Okay, no, I take it back. He dies to the last Ignite tick. Is going to be very unfortunate for him. That's going to be a trade-off at the end, but only a 2-for-1. And they're still hammering down these towers. And it's so hard. You talked about the Baron buff. I still think it's busted in the current landscape of the game because Wham can do nothing. It's too good, man.
Minions are just too strong with Baron buff. Honestly, they're so strong with Baron buff. It's difficult to clear those waves. Like Ziggs is probably the best wave clearer in the game, and he struggles to clear those waves with the Baron buff on. 2 inhibitor towers, they never come back. That is natural pressure in your bot and mid lane created for Trovo Nova, and this is the point in the game where you're thinking difficult for Birthday Dream if they want to go back into the series. I have only ever lost 1 game where I took all 3 inhibitor towers, and that was versus an enemy Vayne, and they kind of smurfed it. But yeah, it's a very difficult when you take these big permanent objectives like those inhibitor towers, and now all you need to see Trovo Nova do is just let that natural pressure push through bot lane, push through mid lane. You can even group up top lane and look to pressure out that tier 2 inhibitor tower as well. And with Baron spawning, if you just let that bot lane do its thing, eventually someone's going to have to respond to it, and then you can start up that Baron.
Yeah, you can just very quickly threaten that Baron, force the fight to come your way, and off of that, you just win the game. You don't even need the Baron buff. With those 2 inhib towers, you're basically set for victory almost, and it's very rare to see a comeback happen in those kind of situations. Teleport being purchased by Urian, is that going to help? I'm not too sure, but things could potentially come on through later on. But Butterfly Dream for Yoda, going to still give it their best shot. Top side of the map, nice little bit of CC connecting down from the likes of Pose. Going to be able to move away. Clamara's going to be safe, but there you go. That's the big push. 3 players of Trovo Nova in the mid lane position. They already got the inhib, but they just want to try and get those pokes, especially for the likes of Pose and Hydro. But I've got to say, the setups of BDY are pretty clean. They're not giving away too much, but unfortunately, they were split because of that push coming out from Trovo Nova in the mid lane, so that tower should fall in the very, very near future.
Yeah, look at this, though. Vex goes
Dragon's
in.
Rage. Dragon's Rage, the Young Core connects on so many targets. That's the setup, but they're just too far. You can't close the gap just yet. Trovo Nova going to be at the end losing Pose, but he done what he was supposed to do. He used the ulti, and he did it extremely, extremely well. Flash forward, he has to go golden last second. One will potentially lose his life to the body slam and into the empowered basic attack. That is going to be potentially GG there. Scoundrel. Explosive cast a little bit off put from Clamaris, and he's taken a severe beating by Uthian. But Luthien will be still able to make it back to the fountain. And I believe Xscoundrel here, we're looking at the final moments of BDY in this game as Trovo Nova are looking to close this one off.
They got so much time to work with here. Going to shove those minion waves in. You can see a kick comes through the flash kick there from Vex. And this will be GG's for Trovo Nova.
Yep, Trovo Nova, congratulations, taking himself the first series of the Origin series flawlessly 2-0. A few little hiccups here and there, but still looking clearly as one of the favorites in Group B, and they are proving us why right here, right now. BDY, I gotta say, big respects. They tried some things. I especially really enjoyed that first game and how they drafted it, but at the end, they go back to the lower bracket, and we'll see if they can make it to the next stage. But Trovo Nova, pretty easy walk in the park this game.
Yeah, it definitely felt that first game. There was some elements, some shakes from Trovo Nova. The early game was definitely a lot stronger than I was expecting from Butterfly Dream for Yoda. But honestly, Trovo Nova came clean in that second game. Like super, super good stuff. Like Vex clearly just styling on the Lee Sin, took over the map. And honestly, that very early roam to double scuttle really put Camille too far behind here. And then a lot of focus on the Garen, you know, from the Camille, trying to go for a tank Gragas kill over and over again, I think really shot Butterfly and Dream for Yoda in the foot because they were never able to convert. And then eventually Trovo Nova just again categorically squeezing the map, taking every objective that they can, and had a huge gold lead to work with by the end.
Yeah, hopefully this is something the Butterfly Dream for Yoda can take as a great learning experience and try and use and improve upon their very strong basis that they showed throughout this series versus Trovo Nova. But with that said, myself and Xscoundrel are going to head on over to a very short break, and we'll be back in just a bit for another guest segment to break down this game that happened between these two teams.
Well, this is the nature of best of 3 series. You win 2 maps, it's all over. Trovo Nova, proven they are the dominant force, they'll be moving through to the next round, but it's not all over yet. For Butterfly Dream for Yoda, they get to go and try and have a lower bracket run. Well, guys, I was looking at that Pras matchup, and it didn't really look like Butterfly Dream for Yoda had much into the game, really. They had a cheeky little dragon steal the Infernal. I liked what you said there, Kieran, about being an angry herald in the mid lane. That might not have been the best use of time. But I kind of want to kick things off with, you know, we had that Galio Camille combo that was going on, I believe, and there was lots of instances where they weren't able to really set that up. One of the problems that they had, I noticed you said about 12-minute mark, they were spending a lot of resources top to go and take out a Gragas tank in the top lane. Is that really an efficient use of time?
I think you heard it from my voice. No. I think realistically at that point, like you were just looking for anything as I keep saying Birthday Dream. That's the better name, guys. Change your name to Birthday Dream for Yoda. for Butterfly Dream for Yoda, like they were clearly looking for something to do. Obviously, Garen has got a big execute with true damage. So Garen's ultimate is true damage. It's got execute on it. You can definitely take out tanks with it. But like it's so difficult to get him to the HP threshold where that's going to be relevant, and it takes too much time. And honestly, Trovo Nova were just easily able to respond on the map. So yeah, I think realistically, it wasn't the best use of time. But I think when they were doing that, the game was kind of already lost. Honestly, at 12 minutes.
Yeah, it's not even only that the issue. You talked about him trying to focus down the tanks. He was trying to sometimes to even focus the backline, get himself on top of Hydro, on top of Pose. The thing is, you're going to the backline, you got that beefy front line actually coming out from Trovo Nova. You're going to get surrounded, and unfortunately, during that ult animation, you're just going to take a severe beating, which happened most of the time. He tried to go for those kills. Not only would he not find that kill, but then he would just die himself, and then get themselves the man advantage as a 5v4, and because it's Trovo Nova, they're going to do what Trovo Nova does, and they're going to win the fight right after because it's a 5v4. So there were some ideas I think that they understood, but the execution still I think is a little bit all over the place, and that's definitely one thing they can try and improve on going into the lower bracket.
I feel like for BDY, a lot of it was just like in the early game they had under control. Like another thing I go back to is that cross map they took. They traded Herald out for the first tower, so they understand what they're doing, and in execution it's fine, but. You know, I feel like the later the game goes on, the more of the inefficiencies really turn up with this team. And a team like Trovo Nova really know how to exploit it, stay on game plan, and just keep eking out that advantage.
I think from what Birthday Dream for you is they clearly have like the first 5 minutes planned out in their head. Like every time they know exactly where they want to be. They know where their strengths lie. Again, you're right. That first tower take trade was super good. I think it made use of the resources that they had. The problem is when you throw them something that they're not prepared to deal with. And that's what I feel like Trovo Nova were asking questions. They were saying, what are you going to do about this now? And Butterfly Dream were like, didn't prepare for this. Not sure. Let's gank Gragas. So like it just felt like there wasn't a clear idea about how to deal with kind of like the mid game, which is where Trovo Nova really accelerated. Like Trovo Nova was super good at accelerating the mid game, and it just felt like Butterfly Dream had this really good early game plan every time, and then when they came a little undone because Trovo Nova were asking difficult questions, they didn't know how to respond, and that's where Trovo Nova took over and accelerated.
Okay, Max, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a difficult question in that vein.
Okay.
So Trovo Nova, obviously they won 2-0. They looked very control of the series. Against a maybe stronger opponent, where were some of the ways that Trovo could have improved their games, right? Where were the little like drawbacks in the gameplay, the kind of cracks in the armor that are already starting to emerge with this team? Were you able to spot any in the first two games?
I would say one point that I also brought up, and I did see it happen a few times, especially in the first game. I think second game was not all that much present, but in the first game it was pretty visible sometimes. Clamaris likes to split push. It's this key gameplay style he likes to go towards. He's like a Leon 2.0 in this one. He just likes to split push 24/7, and if you're a team that responds really well to that, you can very easily collapse, get yourself a kill, and then you got a 5v4. And if you turn that into objective control, potentially even more map control, and take yourself a few towers or dragons off of that, you could try and get priority. That could be one of the ways to do it, but I think that Clamaris throughout the past few months has definitely improved on that aspect of the game, so he's a little bit harder to catch out in those split pushes. But it's something that if you know how to play around Clamaris properly and you've done your prep before the game, it is something you could try and turn in your favor if you play it correctly.
I think, unironically, the first game, Clamaris was smurfed because those pressure points that he was putting out on the side of the map was good. It took that team fight comp apart, right? Like it took the idea of this wombo combo team fight apart. And the second game, like your tank Gragas, you're never going to die anyway. You saw it every time. Even if you overextend, tank Gragas just lives forever, and his team were able to respond. So in this series, like I don't think it mattered. And unironically, the first game, I think it actually helped. So yeah, I think Trovo Nova looked impressive from their first game. I know it wasn't the toughest of competition, but I'm impressed from what I've seen.
All right, well, I know there's been a lot of talk of Clamaris. That's really convenient. I don't know if you guys were planning that at all, because we actually have Clamaris for an interview right now. So I'm going to say goodbye to you two. I'm going to bring him in. We're going to have a quick chat, and then I'll pop in with you guys in a second, all right? All right. See what we got. Clamaris!
Hello. How you doing?
Hello. I bet you're feeling good after that, right? First win in the Origin series. First one on stream as well. So you got people talking about Trovo Nova. That's got to feel good.
Yeah. I saw a lot of support on the chat. We weren't nervous at all, but first game is always difficult, so we need to do our best. I think we play very, very solid both games. Different play styles both, because we have a split pusher and team fight comp second game, but overall I'm pretty happy for the team.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that first game, actually, because it was very clearly defined what BDY were going to do, right? They drafted a Wombo team, right? What was the game plan going in there? Because the analysts were saying to me that you're a bit of a split push king. So that's your kingdom, right? Put pressure away from the Wombo combo, try and play around the side lanes. Was that the plan, right?
I have to say that I wasn't a split pusher for most of the time. But with the meta, I need to change my playstyle from tanks to split pushers. And for first game, overall, we were not going to fight any objective because they have pretty strong 5v5. I just need to be like alone, split pushing, getting gold, making enough pressure to malfight to not TP. And after I got killed first levels, they used both ultimates, Wukong and malfight. We were down to fight for Drake. But after we couldn't do it in time, we just drop it and go top, following the standard plan. And that's all, just split push and wait for me to get enough pressure to just join fights, catch backline, Seraphine, because I couldn't do nothing to tanks. That's the game first.
So I'm going to ask you a quick question about Baron lane. I'm going to pick your brain on that one. What's the strongest Baron laners at the moment? Who are they? Are they the tanks? Is that what we're seeing? Dominant tanks in the Baron lane right now, or is it something else we're missing?
I think the strongest, depends on playstyle on the team, but I think Garen is the most broken tank because he's unkillable. But it's true that he's Garen. He cannot do like Gragas, hard engage or... but yeah, Garen, Gragas, I think are the most broken tanks in top lane. Then Camille, I think is the... Not only for top lane, but you can flex the pick. You can pick Camille for 2 roles. But Fiora also. I think Camille, Fiora, Gragas, Garen are the best for top lane. I saw Riven, Irelia, but I think in competitive they are not seen a lot. They are not very picked. But let's see with time if people know how to play them.
All right, so we're going to move on quickly. Looking ahead, right? There are a lot of teams here in the tournament, especially in your group, that people are saying are going to be... well, there's a lot of names, shall we say. You're not in Group A with some of the other teams we're looking for, but in your group, what are the teams that Trovo Nova are kind of curious about or a little bit worried about maybe that you think may be getting to the later stages of the tournament with you?
Yeah, I don't know most of the teams because they are not from my region, but we already play each other, like Navi. I think Navi are pretty decent team. Unicos of Love, we play a lot against them in European leagues and scrims. But also, I think IW, Footballist, and Fastpay Wildcats. I think they are the best teams in the group. I don't know if they match each other early, in early stage of the tournament, but I think they are the teams who you need to take care of. Yeah.
Well, we've got a double Elim bracket, so they do lose that. We'll probably see them find a way to get to the end. But Lamar, before I send you away, is there any messages you want to give to your team, your fans, any shout outs? The stage is yours.
I'm the only one Spanish, but I will not talk about this because I want everyone to support my entire team. I think we will do very, very, very good games to impress the viewers that I see. They are a lot. I think we play very, very fun games. I hope they support until the end, and I hope we can make it to every monthly. And I hope they are happy to see us win. I don't know, it freezes a bit.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Clamaris. Thank you so much for all your kind words and your well wishes, and good luck with the rest of the tournament.
Thank you, Thomas. Bye.
All right, let's get the other two in. Kin, I saw a very smug message from you in our Discord chat when that was going down. Do you want to explain yourself?
Look, Clamaris just listed the best picks in the Baron lane right now, and if you're going to go look at a potential tier list out there, Scoundrels, Wild Rift guides and gameplay, the tier list does kind of put the Fiora, the Garen, and the Gragas at the top end of the tier list, with Camille just up there as well. So I'm just saying, Clamaris has justified me. He's justified me. But I love to hear from Clamaris. He's a great player, and I do think that Trovo Nova are going to do really well. And as he said, like, he had to adapt his playstyle because it has become a bit of a tank meta. Like when Clamara's started, it was just split push meta. Like it kind of was like just playing Camille, playing Fiora, just going all out in the side lanes. It's why you saw people like Leon do like insanely well early season 1, because that was just the playstyle these guys liked. They just forced the 1v1, went in over and over again. But yeah, it was it was good to see that he's kind of adapting his playstyle, and that was a good Gragas game from him.
Yeah, I mean, also, you had a bunch of One Piece posters in the background. If you like One Piece, you're my best friend by default, okay? I got a bunch you can't see right now. So, yeah, good interview with Clamaris, and also talking about how they were intending to go through this one. So, I clearly in their group, I'm expecting them to be into the finals, so I'm intrigued to see what's going to be their take in, you know, the quarterfinals, semifinals, and hopefully for them in the finals if they do make it that far.
All right, I want to loop it back to game 2, because we talked about a few instances of some misplays that are happening, right? But I want to talk a little bit about some ganking on Gragas, right? We had that 11-minute counter gank that came in when they were trying to shut down a big tank one. Yeah, I'm wondering if you could walk us through this this first drawing board section and like really go through exactly what are the problems and how maybe it might have been played a little bit better.
Right. Okay. So take a look at the map state right now. You can see the map state. Hopefully this is a big enough line. This is the half of the Butterfly Dream for Yoda team, right? Mm-hmm. They are here. You don't have any vision. You've got no vision of where the rest of the Trovo Nova team is, but you see Lee Sin bot. So this is the theory, right? This is what's happened in the heads of Butterfly Dream for Yoda. You're like, okay, Lee's bot. That probably means that his team is floating somewhere between here and here, because it's very unusual to have your jungler on the other side of the map to the rest of your team. It doesn't happen, especially when Baron is up. So you're expecting like the rest of his team to kind of be hovering around the area. So you see Lee bot, you're like, okay, maybe I can make a gank happen on Gragas. So I get the theory, but you didn't really have the vision to compensate. You've got no vision in this area of the map. So if we play it out, this is like one of those ganks that we saw. I'm going to play it out. There we go. There we go. It worked. And again, right, Clamares, he's super tanky at this point. If you look at the items he's got, it's ridiculous. You blow the ultimate on him and immediately the entire team collapses. Yes, okay, the Galio joins, but the rest of the team comes through. And this was a teleport Lee Sin, by the way, something that they probably weren't even expecting. A teleport Lee Sin in the side lanes in the jungle teleports into this fight. And then that sets up the perfect fight for the Baron. Again, it's lack of vision. And also, I guess, not really fully expecting A, teleport Lee Sin, but B, also expecting the rest of the team to be so far separated from their jungler on the bottom side of the map. And that happened a couple of times this game. And it was just, again, a lack of vision from Butterfly Dream for Yoda. And I genuinely think that they got baited by Lee Sin showing himself on bot side of the map.
Yeah, and also Luthien tried to actually fail for that bait in the first place. He went right down to the bottom lane, and then the TP, as you mentioned, did come on through. So they got himself a fight in a 5v4 that's really hard to deal with. And that's what's so strong about Trovo Nova. We saw them try and do that, especially in the past of the few community tournaments that we're involved with. They like to subjugate your expectations and try and maybe kind of wreck and shut down your kind of expectations of what's going to happen in a game, depending on what draft they're playing around. I mean, you talked about it, right? TP Lee Sin, you don't see that every single day. It's something very out of the ordinary, especially in the jungle position, and they play around it so well and execute it really well, known as something that's not very popular and common, which is why I think that is some of the strengths of Trovo Nova, is when they're playing something or playing into something they're not really used to, they can adapt really quickly on the fly and just try and mess you up really quickly, which happened in that game, happened in that fight you talked about, Excandral, and they built a big lead off of that fight initially.
Yeah, at this point they were 5k behind at 11 minutes, which is not an insurmountable lead. Like, it's a big lead, but not an insurmountable lead. But then that Baron, that was the platform that basically sealed the deal. That Baron that they took, they set up for after this, sealed the deal for the game, honestly, at this point. And yeah, Trovo Nova were able to just very cleanly finish the game from that.
Now, we don't have the clip to necessarily back this one up, but I know you had a lot of high praise for the double scuttle take in the beginning of the game.
Yeah, that was really good.
I was wondering if you could talk about how important that was.
Yeah, that was basically, so when you take double scuttle, you eliminate a lot of early gank pressure that can come through, because you have good control on both rivers. So as a Camille, the game plan for most Camille's is get level 5 by about 2 minutes, walk into a lane with Hextech Ultimatum, get a kill, you roll in, right? That's a good place to start. Double scuttling her puts you further behind. You don't have much control of the river area, so it's difficult for you to get out and look for a gank opportunity. It gives Lee Sin a lot of free control, which allows him to be more aggressive and either look to match you or look to get an invade off. So it was just a really nice way to put the Camille a little bit further behind in the early game here, which I thought was very clever. And I love the roam from Grizzly. I praised this guy so much. I thought he had an insane performance this game in both games in the series as well.
All right, well, we've had one team go through to the next round. Plenty others are doing the exact same thing in the background. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to bring you another matchup in the Origin series.